boring around here.
My boy, this piece.
So, did the king walk toward the camera? Or is this a reverse dolly zoom where the subject in frame gets bigger but the background stays the same size? Because if it were a regular zoom in, the background would get closer too.
I just wonder what Ganon's up to.
This is such a weird thing to say when you think about it. Because, like, yeah, I get it, you're bored, but the setup to this conversation is that you're bored because everything's peaceful right now. And you're wondering what the king of all evil in your universe is planning to do next, phrasing it in such a casual way that if I didn't know who Ganon was, sounds like you're talking about a friend you want to hang out with later. At best, you have a crush on the guy. At worst, you're hoping he causes some havoc just so you have something to do. Something that drives me absolutely f***ing bonkers is when subtle animation errors like this happen, because I feel like they should be an easy fix, and I doubt no one noticed it during production. There's always a frame where the subject from the first scene is overlapped with the background from the next scene, or like in this case, vice versa.
Your Majesty, Ganon and his minions have seized the island of Korodai.
How can we help?
Everything about how King Harkinian responds in this scene bothers the hell out of me, because I get the sense that the way this line was written was meant to evoke a sense of empathy and urgency. Guanum calls it the island of Korodai, likely implying that Korodai is either a part of the Kingdom of Hyrule or at least a territory under the king's governance. But the way he's animated and even the intonation of the dialogue suggests that this is more of an inconvenience to the king. Like, ugh, what does that have to do with me? What am I supposed to do about it? Am I meant to deal with this right now? Well, yeah, dude, you're the fucking king! Also, speaking of inconvenience, on the flip side, it's very convenient that Link was just complaining about how bored he was and wondering what Ganon was up to, only to have someone immediately tell us that Ganon is indeed up to something and that Link now has to take care of it.
It is written, only Link can defeat Ganon.
Oh yeah? Well, what's that fish symbol in the middle that you didn't seem to read? Is that the ichthys? Why would you conveniently leave out the part that we need the power of Jesus on our side?
Great, I'll grab my stuff.
There is no time. Your sword is enough.
No. I think it would be a much better idea if Link grabbed all of his equipment and went to Ganon directly, because otherwise I need to OSP this S, which would just take longer. By the way, OSP stands for on-site procurement, and the second S stands for shit. In the span of less than 5 seconds, Link goes through all the faces your sleazy uncle makes after about the 6th or 7th misogynistic comment made at Thanksgiving dinner, claiming he's just kidding or thinks you're too sensitive, and then proceeds to complain ad nauseum about the fact that he's still single at 43 and can't figure out why he, specimen of a man that he is, just can't seem to find someone that loves him, when really what he means is submits to him. This, of course, being hilarious when he can't even find someone who'll tolerate him, evidenced by the one-night stand he had 17 years ago that you now call Cousin Gary, wanting absolutely nothing to do with him, all the while boasting about what a ladies' man he is, making him somehow simultaneously a stud and a loser. Truly a Schrodinger's bar hop if ever there was one. Of course, he could only even come to Thanksgiving because he's on probation for his 3rd DUI. That week, Grandma just ignores it because while she didn't raise him to be that way, it just is who he is, and no one says anything because nobody wants to be the one to stir the pot and have him ruin the evening, but you really can't wait for the pies to come out and be eaten so you don't have to see the prick again for another year. Wait, the fuck was I talking about?
Squadala!
Squadala!
Wow, what are all those heads?
These are the faces of evil.
Roll credits. Also, by the way, Faces of Evil is what Link just did in the span of under 5 seconds.
Here is the map. Where do you wish to go?
I know I don't have to explain it, but the way that map opened made absolutely 0 sense.
Hey, wanna fight the forces of evil in Korodai? Check it out, it's easy. You got this map, see?
Yep, there it is. That's the face he makes when someone finally stirs the pot.
Use the controller to move me left or right. Move it up, and I jump or climb.
Oh god, word to the wise, if you're ever making a game, please dedicate jumping to its own face button and not up on how you move. Especially not when up has a separate function like climbing or opening doors.
When I'm crouching, you can make me do the duck walk. Cool, huh?
Sure.
To enter a door, move in front of it like this. Now, press button 2.
Wait, button 2 is what makes me enter doors? Why not dedicate button 2 to jumping and having up be what enters doors instead?
Luckily, I brought my smart sword. It won't hurt anyone friendly. In fact, it makes them talk.
Well, of course they're gonna talk. You just swung a fucking sword at them.
To open the magic pouch, make me crouch down, then press button 2.
Oh, hell no, dude. One of those stupid you have to change positions before you can access a menu things? That sucks.
Don't forget, I can only open the pouch when I'm crouching.
Oh, trust me, I am going to forget and it's going to suck. And hold on. There's no way the controller for this thing only has 2 buttons, right? Well, in looking that up, I'm not seeing a single controller that does. The original game controller has 3 face buttons, but the third technically isn't a button on its own. It's labeled 1 plus 2, so I'm guessing executes the function of both buttons 1 and 2, which... why? Why not just have a third button? Like, I get it, the Philips CDI wasn't conceived as a gaming console, but once games were on it, you couldn't design a better controller for more complex control schemes? Even taking into account the remote control, which has a ton of buttons, you could assign tertiary functions to it instead of just having 2 buttons. You're telling me that this control scheme is ass partially because the controller wasn't designed for it? I've never heard of that before, because usually you design around those issues. And yeah, I guess they did so here, but my god, maybe don't make a Zelda game on something that isn't designed to play a Zelda game.
Once I'm back, use the tool by pressing button 2.
Ah, that's why jump is up. Something that, again, could have been solved if only you had added another button.
Remember, tools can only be used when I'm standing up. And you'll find that some tools need rubies before they'll work.
Rubies? Like, in Zelda 1? This came out in 1993. There were already 2 games that called them rupees. And I know you know that because the art of Link on the box is from A Link to the Past. So the tutorial actually spoils events of the game for you, because if you open it before you start the game, which makes sense because I'm trying to learn how the game works before heading into it, Link says,
"Hey, let's go find Zelda."
When Zelda doesn't start the game being kidnapped. Huh? Why is the... Okay, so I have no idea if this was the case originally, because I'm playing this on an
totally legal and authentic Philips CDI machine.
But the music is only on one audio channel, with sound effects being on the other. I can only imagine that this wouldn't have mattered a whole lot back in the day, because you either had a television that didn't support stereo audio, or because not many people played games with headphones plugged in back then. I'll make sure to set the rest of this to mono, but it's so weird to think that this had to be done this way.
Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Come back when you're a little, richer.
Is that your mustache or just 2 gigantic nose hairs? Anyway, that didn't sound like you were struggling to find the right word to use, but almost like you delighted in calling me poor. This combat sucks. How did you make the game design from Zelda 2 worse? Like, that's clearly what the inspiration for this was, right? In an interview with Dale DeSharon, the director for both the Animation Magic games, he says that they didn't want to do a traditional top-down game because the belief was that Philips would take one look at it and turn it down, claiming that they would think it was an outdated visual style. And what I think is so funny about that is that, as far as I can tell, there was no indication that they would have said this, especially given the other CDI Zelda game that came out a few years later, and don't worry, we'll get to it. But on top of that, they were given material from Nintendo to work on these games, and development of this one started the same year A Link to the Past released in Japan, meaning they had to have known that it was another top-down game, right? Something that no one tells you, I'm guessing so as to artificially inflate how long it takes to beat this game, is that over the course of the game, you're gonna need a lot of the items that you can purchase at the shop, and in most games, this is a non-issue. Usually you can find items from drops you receive from defeating enemies, but the only thing the ones in this game drop are rubies you can use to buy more things at the shop. And okay, fine, but everything you buy at the shop is expendable. There's nothing here that you keep for good, meaning you can run out and need to come back and get more. The problem with this, though, is that you can never really know how many you'll need before coming back here, and if you want to stock up on any of the resources, you'll need to defeat a lot of the enemies to get the rubies to get those items. It's not super fun to get to a part where you need lamp oil, run out of it, go back to Geronimo to get more, only to realize that you don't have enough rubies left and have to grind Dyras again for the millionth time.
Help! Ganon froze the fountain. I'm stuck.
Well, that's horrifying. Also, you didn't look frozen when we got here, and in fact, still don't look frozen after this conversation. No? Gomas aren't weak to bombs. Sure, we don't have a bow and arrow in this game, but why would I think a bomb is more effective against an eyeball monster than my stabby sword?
Biggest crab I ever caught.
It's a Goma.
You're pretty good. Here.
You're giving me a laser beam sword for correctly identifying the species of a monster that presumably everyone in this land knows about? This jump is utterly horrendous. The controls are already not super reliable, and you want me to jump across a pit when I can barely tell what I'm allowed to stand on? Oh, fuck this. You have a life system? I get it, it was the norm at the time, but even you had to have known how unforgiving and unfair this game is sometimes, and you have it so that I would have to do some of these sections all over again if I don't get it in 3 attempts?
Dyras came straight from the crater till I boarded the vent. Used a skull for a latch and not one Dyras figured it out.
So, I don't remember the original video all too well. I mean, it has been, Jesus Christ, 8 years. But I think I made it a point that I was confused about what the fish lady says here about the Dyras coming out from the crater. I never played a Zelda game before and had no context in the form of gameplay because I was just writing the script based on the cutscenes. It was a different time, I'm a different man, shut up. So even though I knew some traditional Zelda enemies, your Moblins, your Like-Likes, your Octoroks, Dyras have only ever been in Zelda 2, this game, and Wand of Gamelon. And Cadence of Hyrule, but that game wasn't a thing back then. I had no idea what she was talking about, so it just sounded like nonsense to me. But now that I do know what she's saying, I can confidently affirm that she is speaking nonsense. She says she used a skull to latch the entrance to the crater, preventing more Dyras from coming out, but I have zero idea how what I'm looking at is supposed to work. How is the skull doing anything in this situation? You couldn't just say you hid the key to the door in the skull? That's more accurate to what actually happens. This is a perfect example of why this game is so poorly designed. In order to defeat the fire Dyras, I need to throw snowballs at them, which I get from defeating Moblins in Nortinka. But before coming to Crater Cove, I would have no idea how many I would need to get past this part. And even if I had a comfortable number of them, if I were to die here, I'd have to restart this whole segment with the Dyras having all respawned, but without the snowballs to take them on. Dying in a video game should yield some punishment, yes, but usually you're meant to have the resources necessary to continue readily available to you. Here, it's the equivalent of starting to write a letter, spelling a word wrong, but you can't scribble or use whiteout, so you have to start the letter all over again, but halfway through writing, you run out of ink, so you have to go to another room to get another pen, but when you come back to the page, it's been ripped out, and you have to start the letter all over again.
Here, have some water of life. My, you're thirsty. Oh my goodness!
Well, that sucks. I literally thawed you and you just automatically refreeze a few seconds later? What the f*** are these things? The Arpagos are some of the most annoying enemies in this game because they're airborne and can hurt you while at a standstill, but you need to jump and slash to hit them, which is extremely difficult to do accurately. This is an example of what I can only imagine was a rushed animation. Well, let me rephrase that. It's an example of rushed coloring. Here's the thing, people always talk about how bad the animation in these games are, and I disagree. I think the animation itself is fine, if over-animated 80% of the time, under-animated 10% of the time. But the designs of the characters, the performances you then have to animate around, and the digitized frames are what I think is rough. This character's lighting source, and therefore her shadows, change drastically on every frame. That, compounded with some shadows that aren't even colored in all the way, make this hard to look at. And it would be one thing if I was just nitpicking on a single stopped frame, but the fact that I can pause almost anywhere and find these inconsistencies, coupled with the fact that I can literally see this happening when this animation is in motion, should tell you everything.
It's mighty dark with all the evil about. Keep this lantern full, it'll light your way.
Thanks.
What the fuck? Okay, that was an example of a rushed everything. Why does this Link in particular look so much different than all the rest? It's like whoever made this cutscene had half a day to make it and was referencing the original Nintendo art directly. The colors aren't even right, man.
Not many left, Link. There's Drulik round the side of Glutgo.
Also, what on earth are you talking about? So, if you had to guess what anything he just said was, without knowing the context behind it, do you think you would ever be able to decipher it? Because what he's saying is that there aren't many people left to save, referencing the character named Drulik, who can be found in an alcove at the side of the lair to one of the bosses named Glutko. But not only have I never heard of either of these characters before, nor are their names conventional enough for them to register as names to me, so how would I know that when you say there aren't many left that you're referring to people? You don't unlock the Glutko level until way later in the game, so why would anyone know what you're talking about here?
Look and see Geronimo.
Wait, Geronimo is a character? I thought that was just the name of this place. And, well, I guess two things can be true, but it's just awkward because I won't know if people are talking about the character or the place. One frame he's just a skelly man, on the next he's blinged out in a suit of armor. No transition, no nothing.
I may be hideous, but after a year of being frozen, you will beg to join me.
God damn, this line is so dumb. He starts his sentence by saying that he's hideous, but ends it by saying that we'll be wishing to join him after he freezes us for a year? At least, I think that's what he's saying? The line is written so poorly that even as a relatively short sentence, it's hard to comprehend. Wanting to join your forces after a year of being frozen has nothing to do with you being hideous. With that setup, I expected the payoff to be something like, you'll wish you looked like me or something. That's why the after a year of being frozen part is confusing too, because I don't know if you mean you being frozen or us being frozen. Because with that setup, it also could have been, I may look hideous, but after a year of being frozen, what can you expect? It's also extra confusing because he's a necromancer. His power isn't to freeze people. In fact, I think you shoot fire at us. Maybe he says that because his weakness are the firestones? Maybe? Something else I think they did in order to artificially inflate game time is how the stages are unlocked. For example, I had to play through Nortinka to unlock Tokyo Lighthouse, which is how we get the lantern, and unless you want to jump around the stage like a dumbass or have spent an unhealthy amount of time studying this game, which to be fair is any amount of time, you'll need it to traverse through Geronimo, even though Geronimo is available from the start of the game. But in order to play through Nortinka, I had to play through Crater's Cove to get the Firestones, which you also need for Geronimo. But in order to get the Firestones, you need to farm the snowballs in Nortinka. Mind you, all this time, as we beat these stages, we're unlocking others that wouldn't really advance what we're working toward. I didn't necessarily need to beat Crater's Cove to beat Nortinka, but beating it unlocks Spearfish Falls, and nothing is really stopping me from beating it. The thing is, doing so without the item you get from Geronimo, the bell, makes it extremely annoying to do. Now for my playthrough, I routed it out in a way where I would experience every cutscene at least once, meaning there were times I had to play through a level twice, whereas you could get an item that you need in one level and only have to visit the next one once. But I did that on purpose. If you don't know what you need and visit a level without having an item that an NPC is going to request from you, you now have to play that level again after you go to another level to get it. That's idiotic! This is a fairy fountain! Why can I die at a fairy fountain?
I may be old and ugly, but I still know a few tricks.
You know, I never noticed it before, but this is the exact same issue I had with Geronimo's line. Why would being old and ugly have any bearing on any skills you have? If anything, being old aptly explains why you would know those tricks. The concepts could not be less mutually exclusive. On a lesser note, it drives me a little insane how some characters look nothing like their in-game sprites. Like, when you see this, do you expect her to actually look like this? Oh, come on, guys, you weren't even trying here. The puffs on her shirt are orange! Also, is she fondling herself? What the fuck? You couldn't find anything else for that hand to do. Not every body part needs to be doing something, guys.
My husband gave me this. He's an abominum now.
Cool, I have no idea what that is or why you would tell me. Based on the name, I'm assuming it's one of those terrifying snow monkey things, but when I first heard this line, I thought she was saying that he's in Abominum now, which I thought maybe was a place.
Look what has happened.
In the darkest nightmare hour, when not moon nor sun has risen, I take Zelda in my power. I shall keep her in my prison.
So, wait, was Guanum showing us that that event took place? How was he doing that? How did he know what happened? And dude, can we change the backgrounds when some of these things are shown to us? It makes it look like that weird-ass rhyming pitbull thing kidnapped Zelda at Firestone Lake. Speaking of Firestone Lake, it's one of, if not the shortest level in the game, but that doesn't stop it from being annoying because of the Pyrondai. You see, the way the snowball works isn't straightforward. Literally. It travels in a bit of an arc, and half of the time you end up missing the fire wheel as a result, so you have to position yourself better while another Pyrondai is chasing you.
Wow, thanks!
Dude, so you fixed the outlining of this frame, but you didn't bother fixing the color of the brim of Link's hat?
See how Harlequin captures Coridians?
This is another one that just sounds so awkward to me. For starters, I don't know who Harlequin is, and unless I remember that this place is called Corridai, I won't know what Coridians are. The way they say some of these things is so matter-of-fact, as if by saying it that way it'll be more digestible for the audience, but it can't be when you're just throwing me into it like, here's a name you've never heard before in a place you don't know yet, and saying it like I should know. See? This is what name you've never heard of does. Isn't it awful? Like, yeah, dude, I guess, but also, what are the words you're saying at me? Why are you written like this? Why did you ask them to perform it that way? Also, Harlequin Bazaar is the only level that features the name of the stage's boss and isn't just the character's name. Why didn't you do the same thing for the rest of the boss levels? Why couldn't it be Goronu's Mountain or something? Why is it just Geronu? That way I at least know that Geronu is a character and not the name of the place like Nortinka. This being the entrance is stupid because it just looks like a random set piece, especially when it's right next to that sewer gate that also happens to be an entrance to a place you can't access yet. You know, I think I just realized something. You get the bell for defeating Geronu, but I don't think anybody tells you what it does. The manual doesn't mention it at all, and since you get it for defeating a boss, no NPC is there to tell you about the bell's effects, so you would just have to use it around flying enemies to know it even does anything other than spend your rubies. In what universe is that something I can stand? You know what? Whatever. This is so shit. The only way I can hit him is by striking him directly, but the range of his projectile spans the entire room, and I can't stop moving fast enough for it to hit my shield. Not to mention that if I do stop, I just allow him more opportunities to hit me, and it's not like he goes down in one hit.
Lucky shot.
Golly!
I'll say. What the hell just happened? Why did he deflate like a balloon? I thought he was a peeg. Was he a balloon peeg? And could we not pick up his corpse like it's a common dish rag? The guy was a creep for sure, but that's just morbid. Instead of just, oh, I don't know, adding another platform I can jump to, they instead make me waste a thing of rope on a tiny-ass ledge.
The stars are made of ice.
Wrong. Also, not the voice I thought was going to come out of you.
Thus, the night is cold.
But the sun is a star. And ice doesn't emit heat. Wouldn't that make us all freeze to death? Oh, come on, did you guys not have a model sheet? Were some of you just going off the reference material Nintendo sent? This is a completely different Link from this one and this one.
Now, if we make a simple vacuum and spin the ice just so, then...
Well, don't open the fucking thing if you're trying to make a vacuum. It's not a vacuum anymore if there's air inside. And for the record, I hate that Link, the Faces of Evil of all damn games, is the one that's made me research physics. That's so stupid. Were the trumpeters drugged when they played this? I don't know what that was, but I would never call that music. Oh no, I think we just walked in on that Stalfos' alone time. Huh? What? Geronu? But I saw you literally dissolve into ash. How are you still alive?
You can't kill me. No. No. No.
That's literally what you said last time. No, like seriously, word for word, movement for movement.
This shield both sword and spear deflects, but cannot stop the vilest curse. This crystal makes the shield reflect, cursing the cursor with twice the curse.
I categorically despise this dialogue. So, you know how when you hear a word enough times, it eventually stops registering to you as an actual word, even though you know what it means, you associate the sounds that make up the word with the concept, but it just sounds weird to you now, almost like the word itself has no meaning? That's called semantic satiation, and that's not what's happening here. This is just called bad writing. Suprena describes the mirror shield by way of what I think was meant to be a poem, or at least a rhyming verse, but she rhymes curse with curse, which technically doesn't count as a rhyme because they're not homophones, it's literally the same word. It just doesn't sound good. When I played this originally, someone suggested it should be cursing the cursor with something much worse, and that's already miles better. Like, not to get too deep into it, but if you say that you're going to curse someone, it's kind of implied that you're going to curse them with a curse. You don't need to be redundant. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure that cursor is even a word. The information I'm finding is conflicting, where some say it is, others say it's an informal word that gets the point across. So to avoid that, why not just make it, this shield both sword and spear deflects but cannot stop the vilest curse. This crystal makes the shield reflect, reversing the curse into something much worse. Or something like that. Curse. Curse. Nope, it's gone. It means nothing to me anymore.
Look how Militron makes his warriors.
Again, I have no idea how we're seeing this. Wouldn't Militron be in his lair? It wouldn't have taken much to just animate Guanum holding a crystal ball or something to represent how he's showing us this. I know this man isn't just sitting in a chair out in the open.
Oh my goodness, this is awful!
How did tiny little man fit in large suit of armor? Did walk on stilts and levers for hands? For otherwise have no idea how fit.
I'm going to fight Glutko.
Don't fight him, feed him! Something spicy. Know what I mean?
No, you strange drunkard with balance for eyelids, I don't know what you mean. Because typically when you say that something is spicy, you think of hot, which makes you think of fire, and my sword just got upgraded to the fire sword, which isn't what you mean, so it must be the firestones, right? That makes sense. Nope, we have to feed Glutko bombs, and sure, the heat from the explosion turns into fire, but when I think spicy, I don't think explosive. You couldn't tell me to feed him something with pop or bursting with flavor?
Through the eye of Glutko lies the shrine of Koridai.
I don't know what that means or why it's relevant.
It tastes like a Dyra. Perhaps just one more?
If it tastes like a Dyra, why don't you just eat Dyras? Aren't they more readily available than Caridians would be? Also, are the two dark green things on his chin warts, or does Glutko have 4 nipples? Actually, you know what? Never mind, I don't want to know. Wait, what's Glutko doing here? We literally saw him explode after we fed him a bomb. Are there 2 Glutkos? Is Glutko the species and not the guy? And for reference, much like Geronimo, you do fight some of these bosses twice, but Glutko is the only one that you fight twice in the same level. Did the bomb explode in his mouth and then he fled to the Shrine of Koridai? How is he that fast?
Listen, such is...
God damn, you found that secret verse fast. Did you already know what it said? Why'd I need to bring you the book then? I don't understand how there were so many frames in Ippo's animation where you forgot to draw in his right ear. Like, if this was animated by a single person, you know what you've already drawn. How did you forget? But if it was handed off to an in-between artist, you had to reference the keyframes where you can clearly see there's an ear drawn there. Why did you ignore it?
Such is the power of the Prince of Darkness that he can kill with a single look. Attacks against Ganon will prove fruitless unless Link attacks with the sacred book.
I'm sorry, I must have misheard you while I was distracted with your ear thing. It sounded like you said that I had to defeat Ganon, the Prince of Darkness, by using a book. His weakness is a book in this one?
Now you see me, now you don't.
Me when I'm 4 years old and wake my parents up at 3 in the morning to tell them I pee-peed in my pants and want a cookie. Also, I would just like to point out that in both intro cutscenes before we fight Harlequin, we see him using this disappearing and reappearing power, but he never actually uses it in-game. Thank God, obviously, trying to hit him even without it is tough enough. I just think it's weird that he has such a specific ability that he doesn't ever use.
Lucky shot.
Golly!
This is an instance where repeating the cutscenes works to your disadvantage, because why is Link surprised about this? I can't visit Lupe without beating Harlequin Bazaar first, so he should already know what's going to happen when we defeat him. This is very silly. Because you can't arc your jump, you need to fall down to this lower platform, hugging the wall just enough so that you don't fall all the way down and have to climb up and around all over again, and use the rope to reach the level before the one you fell down to.
I spy with my eyes someone who must die.
Damn, even that was a better rhyme than cursing the cursor with twice the curse. Are you fucking kidding me? What was it Guanum said when we first got here?
Consider Lupe the most dangerous of Ganon's minions.
I beat them by just standing there. Yeah, I guess they're the most dangerous if the only thing that can beat them is themselves.
Die!
Oh my God. Dude, we still have to finish the Lupe is dying cutscene and the game ships tomorrow. Just get Sharon in marketing to do the voice and just slowly erase bits of Lupe frame by frame until they're gone. This jump is so precise and annoying because you have to do it with the winged helmet, but you have to position yourself correctly first because you can't cancel how far you travel with it, and the platform you have to land on is so tiny. Not to mention these aardvark-looking things, which I just found out are meant to be Zoras, and f*** that, pop their heads out to shoot you and you will get hit 9.985 times out of 10.
At last, you have the vision to find my house. Now you will see the sand kroomies that prevent your approach to Ganon. Go with many blessings.
Wait, hold on. Could you not find your own house? Did I help you find your house? Because if not, and you could visit here whenever you wanted, there's no reason I had to navigate around Hermit Flat just so I could give you the Crystal of Vision for you to put in the lantern. You could have come here, gotten the lantern, met me at Ganon's lair, and given me the lantern then. Why did I need to find your house? Also, what the f*** are sand kroomies? You can't just mention something that's never been in the series before without context and act like I know what you're talking about when this is the first time I've even heard the word! Did giants die in here? Why are the human skulls so large? You need the winged helmet for this tiny-ass jump, and I think that's stupid. Oh, of course! My favorite iconic Zelda enemies. Moblins, Darknuts, Octoroks, and Tapeworms! This last room before Ganon is awful. You have to deal with everything, from the Tapeworms you have to crouch to hit, to flying enemies that you have to freeze with the bell, all while climbing the room with the terrible platforming and using the rope where necessary, and the lantern because the room gets dark. Better hope you have enough rubies to do all that! Wait, the weird-ass rhyming pitbull thing is Ganon? I thought that was just a throwaway character that they forgot about. He looks nothing like Ganon. What source material were you referencing? They just gave you designs for Link and Zelda, but for Ganon, well, you're on your own. Can't make him look like the official one.
Join me, Link, and I will make your face the greatest in Koridai, or else you will die.
Dude, I killed the rest of your minions. Why would I want to join you now? You have to get so lucky here because his attacks deal so much damage. You have to bust out the Book of Koridai at your earliest convenience and hope that it hits him, because otherwise you will die.
No! Not into the pit! It burns!
The pit? It burns? It's a book! Did they change the way Ganon was meant to be defeated without re-recording dialogue for it? Whatever. Being trapped can feel like a pit, and maybe being inside a book feels like it burns. I don't know.
Why'd you do that?
I just saved you from Ganon.
You did not.
Zelda, I know you just woke up, but where do you think you are? Does she even realize she got kidnapped? I genuinely think she has no idea.
Look, already Koridai is returning to harmony. The birds are singing. Isn't it beautiful?
I guess. It'd be nice if I could see peace returning to Koridai instead of you conjuring up a bird out of nothing after I hear no bird singing.
You, Link, are the hero of Koridai.
I guess that's worth a kiss, huh?
Ha!
What do you mean, ha? You were literally about to do it!
I won!
That's a hell of a thing to say right after getting rejected. I will never understand games that don't play the credits after a game is over. It is so psychologically uncomfortable to navigate a menu just so I can see who worked on this. So Animation Magic, the team who worked on this in Wand of Gamelon, was a Russian-American animation studio founded right after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and I can't tell if that, or the shame at how this game eventually turned out, resulted in all of the animators being credited by their first name, but having their surnames initialized. And I really hope it was just a shame thing, because that would mean that they're credited this way of their own volition, not being minimized or suppressed. Say what you will about the final animations, but these were people breaking into a relatively new industry for their country and had to work under not so great conditions due to budgeting and time constraints. Regardless of my opinions of their work, they should still be properly credited. I just feel like something else is at play when literally none of the animators' surnames are listed. Again, hopefully I'm just reading too deep into it and they all collectively agreed to do it this way. Look, I hear you. Unauthorized copies of this software would have meant less in sales for you at the time, but 30 years later, no one is dishing out this much money to play this. You may do so to own it, definitely not to play it. Lamp oil. Ganon's evil has darkened many places of Korodai. Unless you find a lamp, you'll spend much of your quest wandering in the blackness. I feel like that's a borderline deceptive thing to say, because most of the areas where we use the lamp are places that make sense for it to be dark. I don't know, I never interpreted it as unusual or caused by any sort of magic. Moving around Korodai. Once you're on the ground, use the joystick to move around. You can walk, crouch, climb, or even duck walk. Here are a few hints to make speeding across the island a little easier. Well, let me tell you, at the speed at which we walk in this game, no one is speeding across anything. Something I didn't talk about during the tutorial is that Link mentions that the Triforce is what lets us select which area to visit and is what lets us return to the map or complete a stage. I let that slide because, at least to me, it seemed as though he was describing an interactable object and not something diegetic that he can actually see. But now, the manual pretty much asserts that each area in Korodai has 2 Triforces, and maybe that's the case in this universe, but not only is that not true in the main Zelda timeline, at least so far, if they were referencing Zelda 1, those were parts of a piece of the Triforce. I feel like they shoehorned in the whole Zelda getting kidnapped thing because they figured that maybe Link should save her since that's kind of his thing. The problem is, her getting kidnapped doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Honestly, I'm not even sure why Ganon kidnapped Zelda, other than because he's a bastard. Saving her doesn't change anything, since she doesn't do anything. And having her kidnapped adds nothing anyway, because we were already on a quest to defeat Ganon, meaning our motivations haven't changed at all. Sure, now we have an additional reason to take him down, but it's not like we needed one. We were gonna do that anyway.
Golly!
Die! Hey, everyone, more shooty. Thanks so much for watching. Sure, I've seen a nonsense passage of everything wrong with Link. Nobody saw something. On screen, you're seeing the names of the wonderful patrons and channel members who decide to contribute financially to this channel. And if you'd like to see your name and profile picture alongside ours, you can do so by following the link in the description or by hitting the share button underneath this video. But of course, everything's liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing this video with someone you think might enjoy it. Also help out. Make sure to check out CINEMASINS channel for match or pastiches. Be sure to take a look at everything along with playlists to see if there's anything you haven't watched yet. Thank you again so much for watching, and until next time, steady and steady richer. This is Morshu signing off.